All right, let's go to my favorite part of the show every single week, and that is Butthurt of the Week. Cue the Matador. And just for my daughter, Kelly, we won't stay on this picture too long. First story in Butthurt of the Week is not so much an individual that might be butthurt, but more an entire country. At least the citizens of one particular city. Because it was about a year ago, the 2016 Summer Olympics were being put on in Rio de Janeiro, where they had spent, listen to this, $4.6 billion. So a third world, starving, dirty running water kind of a country spent $4.6 billion putting on shows like this in the opening and closing ceremonies, just to have it a year later look kind of like, I don't know, an abandoned site. These were beautiful pictures. But $4.6 billion and one Olympics later, this is what those venues look like now. And you could take this in Russia for the Sochi Olympics. You can go to almost any Olympic venue, and it looks like this. And really, the sad thing is, LA showed you the model in 1984. And everyone sold it corporately like LA in 84. But LA wasn't burdened with all these different facilities. They had existing facilities. So this is where the opening and closing ceremonies were. This is where soccer was put on. Okay? 70, 80,000 seat stadium is now literally kind of going to weeds and seed, because why do they? I mean, they had existing stadiums. And then all these venues, they might as well just tear them down. Why not just build public housing? Let the homeless live in those venues. That would be putting it to much better use. And that's just a little tiny window. I won't go off on a rant here, but how corrupt and what a world of BS the Olympic movement has become, an organization. Not the Olympics, because I still have a world of respect for the athletes. I have a world of respect for the accomplishments and the dedication it takes to participate. But as far as that organization, they are just a payoff waiting to happen. And as you can see, when you spend $4.6 billion on an Olympics, there's probably a little bit of cheese to carve off the edges. Next up, last week, Josh Rosen, the quarterback at UCLA, I guess was audacious enough to mention the fact that he didn't believe that school and football, or at least athletics, went together. And a lot of different reactions to that. Now, if you read the whole story and the transcripts of what this kid said, he was spot on with the way that he approached this subject, where he said it just does not fit.
Well, school don't go together. They just don't. Trying to do both is like trying to do two full-time jobs. There are guys who have no business being in school. They're here because this is the path to the NFL. There's no other way.
And what's wrong about that? Zero. Do you really think everybody that signs a football scholarship, a baseball scholarship, a basketball scholarship are there to get an education? If you do, you are so naive, it's not even funny. They are not there to get an education, the majority of them. Some of them are. Josh Rosen says, I'm there to get an MBA. I believe him. Why do you think there's a thing, or there's a major called General Studies? Who is this General Studies? What is this General Studies? It's a cover, is what it is. So please, don't rip this kid because he just tells you the truth. That is ridiculous. Next up, I mentioned the name Teddy Bridgewater earlier, and preseason injuries are a fact of life. In fact, last year in practice, Teddy Bridgewater completely blew his knee out. Not a little bit. I mean, he made spaghetti out of his ligaments all through his knee. And it's a great example of how bad the NFLPA, the Players Union mentioned in that headline, is. Because here's a guy that normally you'd see a player sign a contract in most other sports. He'd be pretty set. His money would be guaranteed. He'd get all of it. And with an injury, sure, you give up some leverage, but you give up so much leverage in this case. Next year they could freeze him out, pay him $1.3 million. I know in the real world that's a fortune, but on a guy that's just ruined his body, that was his only really way of making that kind of cash. It's just not right. And we don't see it in other major sports, but the owners in the NFL are able to continue to take advantage of the players because of the corrupt and inept NFLPA. Next up is I want to say a karma alert. Let's call this a karma alert. Big game hunter, going to go shoot some elephants? Okay. How's that going to work out for you? Here's a great description.
Aw, animals.
Elephant tramples hunter during failed trophy hunt.
Of course he did.
If hunting animals significantly bigger and stronger than you makes you feel tough, probably best not to let them outsmart you first.
Uh-oh.
An Argentinian man learned this lesson too late in life, and now his hunting days and living days are over. On August 12th, 46-year-old Jose Monsalves, along with another man from Argentina and 3 Namibian men, were out tracking a herd of elephants at a private wildlife area. The men were reportedly looking for a prime spot to target the elephants from.
Don't.
They should have been keeping an eye on the animals themselves. When the elephants caught sight of their predators, one of them went rogue and charged toward them. Caught off guard, the men weren't able to get their weapons ready, and the elephant made Mr. Monsalves pay dearly. He was trampled and crushed. The men were known to be professional big game hunters and did have the correct permits. Guess no one mentioned that to the elephant. Yet another tale of when hunting backfires.
Karma, she is a bitch. Yeah, sometimes you eat the bear and sometimes the bear eats you. That's the definition of proper hunting. And in this case, the other side has a chance. Not much of a chance, so you're not that brave. All right, let's go on to the next story. For those of you that don't know what a Waffle House is, Waffle House is a restaurant down in the South, primarily a breakfast spot. I know people eat there all day long, but it's very easy to build. You got a lot of brick. You've got a same footprint and model for what each store looks like, and a lot of glass because you can look in. It's open 24 hours. You always know what's going on at a Waffle House. Well, this particular Waffle House, it had a little problem. Yeah. There was a guy who was, let's say, oversharing. He was outside of this particular Waffle House, and he was, for lack of a better term, buck-ass naked. And when you see what a Waffle House looks like, we're going to run a picture here. You'll see that there is a lot of glass. See all that glass in the front? Now picture sitting at one of those tables right near the glass, and Sparky's walking along the window area there, and this guy gets arrested. He was completely naked, and he was, let's just say, sharing his sausage through the window at Waffle House, whose motto at times with, various parts of their menu, smothered, covered, sausaged, but oversharing is the best way to say what happened here at Waffle House. And I'd like to finish up Butthurt with a reminder. Hey, regular season is just around the corner. Last time we had a football game being played, a real football game. Apologies to the people who participated in these preseason practice games. But the last real game was the Super Bowl. And for those of you that are Atlanta Falcons fans, well, let's just show this. This best describes the last thing that happened. Yes, I believe a Heimlich maneuver would have been the best thing to happen at 28-3, but unfortunately the Heimlich maneuver did not come, and the Falcons managed to lose that game, as we all know, and some of us just enjoy more than others. That'll do it for Butt Hurt.